Hey guys, Shane Olson here. I had a student request for someone asking about how to scale your characters to get it into the proper scale in the scene where you can go back and forth between Maya. Okay, I just wanted to show you. This is a scene that I know that's completely out of scale. This is before I understood how the scaling inside of ZBrush worked. And this is an old ruler. This is the ruler I made when I was working on Disney Infinity, and this is Spider-Man, and he is literally gigantic in this scene. Okay, I'm going to show you how big he is. If we zoom in here, you can see this is my original grid for the size of this scene. Now, how did I get to this point? How did I get this grid to be this size so I know how big he is? Well, let's start over. Okay, I'm going to open up this this ruler file, and that's just double click. And I cannot stress enough, this is how I start my work inside ZBrush every single time. I do not skip a beat whenever I do. Starting with ZBrush, I always start with this ruler file. Now the question was, how do I get my model inside this ruler file so I can compare my character to this ruler? And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, let's load the tool. We're going to load up Spider-Man. He's right here, and he's pretty big. He's big both in size and in file size as well. So there you can see he came in right there, and you'll notice the ruler. This is the old ruler. This is the ruler that comes with the file. But you'll notice that the old ruler is not in this file. Okay, it's over here. Here's the ruler. Here's the grid. And since I started with my ruler project, the grid, see, the grid stays the same. So if I go back to my Spider-Man tool, so this is my ruler tool, this is my Spider-Man tool. You can load multiple tools into the same project. Anyway, you can see that the grid is here, and it's the size that ZBrush wants it to be. So we're going to actually scale down to this grid, not necessarily the ruler. But what I can do is I can append the ruler at some point, and it will help us out. But I'm not ready to do that yet, okay? Because the question was, let me hop over and look at the question here. It was, sorry, give me a second. Community. It's taking a long time. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull this down. It was Matt Marshall. He says, in regards to the ruler file from 3D Character Workshop, if I append it to a character I already have made, is it still correct in scale, or do I have to start the project with that? Having tremendous difficulty. It is a very difficult thing, okay? So that's why I decided to make a video to show everyone. This is kind of a precursor to the Q&A we're going to do soon. Okay. ZBrush 4, the one that came out right before 2018, so 4R8, I believe. I can't remember. So many versions. Anyway, we're in 2018, but it was the version before this, I believe, that came out. It was the version that came out with the gizmo. It has a very, very cool little thing right here. I don't know what you want to call it. A utility, okay? This little thing right here. This allows you to scale the entire character all at once. And you couldn't do that before. You had to use this thing called Decimation Master, the plugin. I don't even, oh, there it is. See, Decimation Master, and you had to use the scaling. Okay, there's some scale properties. Oh, this is Decimation, not, I need to use Dynamesh Master, not Decimation Master. Anyway, it looks like I don't have it installed right now. Dynamesh Master had a scaling utility where you could scale down the entire figure. The first thing I tried when I actually scaled my figure was doing it in the T-pose, the transpose master, like you would use to pose your figure, because that's one way that you can shrink your entire figure all down at once. But that is an absolute no-no. It will break your model in just horrible ways, because all of your high-resolution subdivisions will not shrink. So it will essentially project all of that, but larger, higher resolution stuff onto your miniature, low resolution character. It's just not good. Okay, If your gizmo is out in space and it's not centered, and say it's rotated like this somewhere, it's not going to work, okay? Because if I turn this on and I start to scale, it's going to scale everything to this point. So we need to center this gizmo down inside the grid here, okay? So we're going to undo that, and you'll notice this ring is not coming for the ride either, because this this transpose all selected subtools thing, it respects masking, which is a good thing, and I'll show you that in a bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to center that gizmo. So we're going to hold down Alt and push the Home button. So that will pop the gizmo down to 0, 0, but it's still rotated. So we need to hold down Alt and click on this little arrow right here, and that's going to recenter or realign the gizmo. So now we've sent it home 0, 0, and we've realigned it. So now we're good. But now we need to clear this mask off this ring. So I'm going to, and I happen to be on the subtool that this ring is on, so I just cleared the mask, and now I can shrink all of this character down to match the grid. Okay, and say maybe your character was really small. Okay, so you would just go the opposite direction. You would scale your character up to match the size that he needed to be. So I'm just going to scale, well, it's a little too far. Okay, so the ruler that I have here is 140 tall instead of 20. So it's a little shorter than I typically have the new ruler. Okay, so now that I have Spider-Man in a reasonable spot in my my scene, now what I can do is I can append that ruler. But how I can do that is if I try to append it right now, so I say append, you'll see that it's going to be this polysphere. So what it does is it takes whatever subtool is the very top, or sorry, the selected subtool of the other tool. Well, that's a lot of tools, but you have to select it. Okay, you have to select the one that you want to bring over in the other tool, and then click back on Spider-Man. And now we're going to append it, but I'm going to insert it. And I talk about it in the course, but the difference between append and insert is append will put it on the bottom of the list, and insert will put it on right underneath the currently selected subtool. So I'm going to do that just for fun. We'll go insert, and we'll grab this ruler. Now the ruler is really big. Okay, so these are things. I'm glad this is happening, because these are things that is going to happen to you during this scaling process. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go look at this XYZ size, okay? And if you go over to the ruler, the other ruler, okay, this one, the XYZ size, this is under geometry position. XYZ size is 2. That is what ZBrush's ultimate scene size. I spoke with Joseph Drust about this, and he's like, XYZ size 2. Like whenever you create a brand new ZBrush scene, it's going to be XYZ size 2. Well, Spider-Man is like 100. Okay, so that's not good, and that's just essentially the bounding box of the scene as it sits currently. Okay, so we might have to append this ruler again, but we're going to go to this scene, and we're going to change this to 2. Okay? Sorry, I changed the ruler to 2. Where did it go? Oh, it went clear up there. But it's the proper size now, because now it's the position is 0.5, 2, and 0.1. This is the position of this ruler now in space. Okay, so I'm just going to try something. I'm gonna delete this. Okay, one thing I want to try and do. Let me see. Is I'm gonna go back to the ruler file. Sorry if this is kind of blowing your mind and over your head. There's one more thing that this scene has okay, sorry. There's one more thing this scene has that I've changed, and that is the export scale. But the thing is that it will use that export scale when it's going from tool to tool. Okay, so when I'm appending from the ruler file to the Spider-Man file, it's going to look at this scale. The reason it's set to 100 is because the relationship between Maya and ZBrush is scale 100. So if I export something out of here that is at position XYZ of 2, sounds like an algebra class now, the XYZ of 2, okay, size of 2, if I export that at 100, bring it into Maya, it's going to be the proper size in Maya if you use meters as your base scale, okay? But going back and forth between ZBrush files, you want this to be, I think it's 1. So I'm going to change this to 1. That's the ruler file. Now I'm going to go back to Spider-Man and I'm going to try this again. Okay, so append, and I'm going to grab that ruler and we're going to see if it's the right size now. Yep, there we go. Okay, so let's see. I saw it pop in over there. Where did it go? Okay, so this is still the ruler that's clear up here and it's still active. I'm going to delete this old one. And I'm going to select this new one. I hit append, so I put it at the bottom. Then if I hit F to frame it, now it's at the proper size. There we go. There we go. That's why when I appended the ruler it was gigantic, is because it was actually scaled up 100 times larger than it should have been. Okay, so now this XYZ is 2. That's why the ruler is perfect and perfect, okay? So now we have our character. And what we can do, if I want to see, I mean, he already has a ruler in here that's that's set to 140 tall. So what I'm going to do is let's see what it's called again, the transpose all selected subtools utility here. Like I said, it respects masking. So what we're going to do is we're going to mask this ruler off. Okay, that's the new ruler that I appended. We're going to mask it off because we're going to scale everything but that ruler. I want that ruler to stick. Okay, and this is going to be kind of hard to see, but this is going to give me, see, I want to scale the large ruler down to 14, which is essentially 140 millimeters, okay? So I'm going to kind of try and just get that as close as I can. There we go. And I can scoot him forward to kind of peek out of that ruler. There we go. So you can see it's sitting right at 140. Now, that scene should be correctly scaled, okay? Now I can turn this off. You want to make sure you turn this off. So after you're done translating or transposing all your subtools, turn it off. Then you can clear that mask, and we could actually get rid of that other ruler, the other ruler file and this file. Or sorry, okay, I can hide this big ruler, select this one. Now we can get rid of the actual ruler in the file, like by hiding it and then doing a delete hidden. Oh, it's got subdivision surfaces. So I'm just going to ignore that for now. But he should be the proper scale. So now if I print him, 3D print him, I would be pretty confident that he would print at the proper scale. So if I turned on this ruler and I exported this entire scene at 200 millimeters, and we talked about this in the printing module, printing lesson. So if I export him at 200 millimeters, he should print out and he should sit properly in the Disney Infinity base because he is properly scaled. So that is the mess that is scaling inside of ZBrush. So I really, really hope that you understand this, and I hope it helps out a lot. So yep, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the Q&A. Take care.